screen down the side with the comments?
I think so, yes.
Good stuff. Okay, that is us live. So, welcome, guys, to our latest edition of the Inverurie Whisky Shop's Blether. A good excuse for us to sit down with the great and the good of the whisky industry and have exactly that, a blether, a wee chat and a dram with people who you might not see every day in the whisky industry. So tonight we're delighted to welcome along Charlie from Norway, who has become a good friend of ours through whiskey. One of the beauties of whiskey is that you get to meet loads of different people. So we met Charlie through our virtual tastings, and she's been along in the ride over the last 12 months, just about every step of the way. And recently, about 6 months ago, started up the blog Freedom and Whiskey, where you've been writing about all your experiences. So we'll talk about the Freedom and Whiskey a bit throughout the night. Obviously, Russell from the Whisky Shop, you had a recent article last week, but you're back with us to have a dram and entertain. So people already jumping on. We've got Duncan Mateer, a regular to us, and Tamara, who was in last week speaking away with Gordon. So good evening to you both, and good evening to everyone else who's watching. So welcome along, Charlie. Welcome, Russell. First question: what's in your glass tonight?
Tonight I actually have a Teeling. Big surprise, right? It's the Teeling Renaissance, the last one, number 3.
So what kind of finish is that? What kind of maturation?
I think that's the Australian Shiraz.
Okay.
Nice. No, it's not number 3. It's number 2. I'm sorry.
That's a nice healthy pour you've got there. Russell, what have you got tonight?
I've got the remnants of the Nicnean batch 2. I was pouring a little wee sample for one of our other regulars who I spoke to about it fairly recently. So I poured him a sample, and I thought, you know what, I'd be as well just finishing that bottle off tonight. So I've got a Nicnean, but I've also got a little wee drop of a nice Blether that I might tap into as well. This was a lovely handful from when I was up at the distillery. Gosh, about 2019. There we go, June 2019, when we were free and able to go and do things.
Can't wait to do that again. I am on a Glencairn Portwood port pipe finish, single cask from 2006. So what you might not know, Charlie, is Russell is in the middle of moving house. So every bottle you see him picking up will be about this, because he tried to carry as little bottles with him as possible. So he's on a bottle kill mission. So that's
a sentence I can't understand. What bring less bottles?
Well, I'm kind of loath to take that amount of whiskey, just a wee dribble of whiskey, in a removal lorry all the way to my new house. So yeah, I'm trying to minimize space.
You're making room for more bottles, more full ones.
Well, indeed, absolutely. Yeah, that's the ultimate aim.
So, Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did the whiskey journey start for you?
My whiskey journey, it kind of started with buying a bottle of Macallan for my ex-boyfriend. He did his PhD, and I wanted to get him something special for doing that. And I bought him a bottle of Macallan. And I hadn't really tasted much whiskey. I knew it was brown and it was strong. And he opened the bottle and he shared it with me. And I remember thinking that it was so smooth. It was really like drinking cream almost. And after that, I got more interested. And in 2004, I went to Crete. And I bought my first bottles of whiskey. I didn't know anything about whiskey. And then in 2006, I went to Ireland for the first time. And I think it was 12 years from the first time till the second time I went to Ireland. And the second time, I actually got the pleasure of going to the tastings of Fionn O'Connor. And he really sparked the interest for whiskey in me.
That's it. And it's been onwards and upwards ever since.
Yeah, his passion is contagious, and he's so into what he's doing. And when you hear him speak about whiskey, you just, or at least I did, just felt like this is something I need to get more into.
Awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said at the start, you came to or you became known to us through our whiskey tastings, our virtual tastings, and you've certainly been a mainstay of the events, but not only of the Inverurie Whisky Shop tastings. You know, when we log on to an event, you're saying hello, or the brand ambassadors, guys like Paul Dempsey, who's just jumped on. Hello, Paul. Say hello to you before they say hello to me or Russell. It's, oh, hi, Charlie, you're here again. Do you know how many virtual tastings you've been on in the last year?
Actually, I haven't counted them, because if I do, I have to kind of acknowledge the fact that I've spent a fortune on it. And every time I go to a tasting, I end up buying a bottle or maybe 2 bottles, and you know this, Mike. So I can't, because no. let's not talk about that.
It's better not to count them, isn't it? It's like Russell with these removals, the bottles he has to shift. He's better not counting them.
I'm also clearing out. I've kind of stored a lot of empty bottles just as sort of ornaments, if you like, and just around the house in bookcases and on shelves and things. And we have a young girl that's helping us out in the shop with a few bits and bobs, who's keen to do a bit of crafting with some of the bottles. So I decided to just clear them out and they offer them to her. But the box that those empty ones are in is huge as well. So I was filling 3 boxes actually of these empty bottles, which made me acknowledge just how much I've spent on whiskey as well. So sometimes it can be a little bit scary, and we're often in denial about that, aren't we?
I'm definitely in denial.
I think if you do it virtually, it doesn't seem so much, though, does it? I think if you're buying online, it doesn't feel like you're spending quite so much money.
Well, it actually depends on where you're living, because if you live in Norway and you get taxed and you got the fees on top of everything, customs and all that crap, then you feel like you have spent a lot of money on whiskey.
Yeah, I can imagine. So sometimes we are lucky to be where we are. We moan about it, the weather and the government and all that. But when it comes to whiskey, we're lucky to have it quite close by. But yeah, talking of living in Norway, Charlie, this is you're looking forward to hopefully a new chapter in your life and moving over either to Scotland or to Ireland. So if you had to pick one, and I won't be offended if you pick the other one, which would it be?
Ireland.
It would be Ireland.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. But as I said, I was in Ireland for the first time in 2006. And I have always felt this connection to Ireland, which I haven't been able to explain. I don't have family there, and I don't have any connection to Ireland. So when I finally got the chance to go, I was thinking that, well, it's just a little country. I've been to a lot of countries. But the minute I stepped off the plane, it just hit me in my chest like someone just punched me. It was like, now I'm home. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, they're our closest cousins, so I guess we can forgive you for that, Charlie.
It's a short way to come visit you guys.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they are speaking about now building a bridge.
Yeah.
Indeed, with a tunnel. Yeah, one of the two.
Perfect.
So yeah, just a car journey away. But if we visit you, we can't drive. We'll have to hire a driver in, because I think there'd be too much whiskey consumed to be driving back anyway.
Might be. So I'm sure somebody have a room I can stay in.
For sure.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
I think it got to the point you were even happy enough to stay in somebody's cellar as long as it got you over. that conversation came up.
Yeah, I'm not picky. That's awesome.
So we've got a couple of guys coming in saying hello to you, Charlie. We've got Ivar Airsith. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right at all. I apologise if I'm not. Saying hello. Alistair Gray is calling you his fellow barfly as well. So I think you've had a few tastings with Alistair over the year. I'm going to pitch a question to you from Johnny there, just to see what we obviously met through virtual whiskies and tastings, and if it wasn't for the virtual world, there's so many people that we wouldn't have met, and obviously you wouldn't have met. Do you think that they're going to be here to stay? I know we all hope, but do you think they'll continue?
I think that's a tough question, actually. I hope so, yes, because it has made the world a lot smaller, and the differences between people are diminished. It's not there anymore. I can say that from my point of view because I've always been different than everyone else, and as my blog title says, where whiskey equals freedom. So the whiskey community for me has been amazing. So I don't know if it's here to stay, but I really hope. I really do.
Yeah, I think certainly in some way. Russell, what do you think?
Well, I totally agree. I mean, there's another couple of clubs. Obviously, all the tastings we do through the shop and the people we get to meet across the whole of the country. I delivered a private rum tasting, 3 or 4 weeks ago, for a lady's birthday, and it's one of these things when you switch on the screen, you don't know where people are, and there's a bit of me kind of always assumes they're in Aberdeenshire, so I'm immediately ready to talk about the local weather. And as soon as you hear accents, you're thinking, no, you're not from the northeast of Scotland. Very much an English accent. So where are you from? Oh, St Albans. All right, okay. Why did you choose us? I mean, this is great, but why did you choose us for this tasting? So it's nice to hear that they did a Google search and we were the only ones that were doing a virtual rum tasting, for example. So that was fantastic. So to get to meet people in all these areas, and if people rebook a tasting, you then get to know them a little bit better. And you know when they mean it when they say things like, if you're down our way, let us know you're coming down. We'll meet you up. And so I think the virtual thing's fantastic. I think they will continue. I think they have to, because some of the clubs that we're involved with now across the country, we're not going to be able to go to physically all the time. And I think people still want to meet up regularly, at least once a month or once a fortnight, whenever the club meets. So the virtual tastings gives you that opportunity to continue to dip in. And it may be, I think, Mike, you've suggested doing kind of hybrid things where we maybe have a physical tasting, but we'll still have Zoom people joining in on a big screen as part of the kind of, the actual in-person experience that we'll have as well. So I think it's interesting times ahead, and we'll have to keep in touch with the people we've met. I think it's hugely important.
I think that's one of the big things for me is keeping in touch with Charlie and the host of other guys, Sam England, who's just jumped on as well. Who met you at the Whiskey Circus. We've done blind tastings for their wee whiskey club, the blind tasting, blind pack, wolf pack. I'm never sure what pack they're in anymore. But we'd be sent to Michael in Germany and Paul in Switzerland, and there's so many people that we've made a connection with. I think it's important to keep that up. But the other thing for me is that as Charlie says, is the smaller world. We're actually getting access to ambassadors, to master distillers, master blenders, who at the moment they can give up maybe an hour, 2 hours in the evening. Whereas if we had to get them up to the tasting room, it would be maybe a 4-hour journey, an overnight stay, accommodation and food and everything. It's quite a logistical experience to do that with a virtual. And we can get them on a TV screen. We can talk to the Billy Walkers, the Gordon Dallases, these kind of guys at almost the drop of a hat. Charlie McLean was on with us a couple of weeks ago. So all these guys are within our reach now, and that was never kind of possible before. So hopefully, like I said, that will continue. I do still want to meet up with you in a bar or a distillery. It's going to happen. It has to happen, whether that's in Ireland or whether it's in Scotland or Norway. It's going to happen. But you mentioned there the virtuals is open up to yourself, whiskey freedom. which is giving you, it's giving everyone a level playing field. It's not the people who have somebody who can drive them just to the shop, for example. It's not people who, it's really accessible. And obviously, you say you could speak from experience on that. And I completely lost track of where you're going. So yeah, the Freedom of Whiskey is the name of your blog, and that kind of developed from. Was it from the virtual side of the tastings where you're attending all these tastings? I'm getting so much information. I need to get it out. I need to share that. Was that kind of how it started, or was it always something that you planned to do?
No, it actually started my last trip to Dublin about 2 years ago. I was in the distillery, and I had purchased half a measure of the 30-year-old tea. And I was just sitting there, like, savoring it, and I saw this man and woman sitting by the door, and they were fairly new to whiskey. They were kind of excited about the tours and everything. So I turned to them because I'm naturally outgoing and extrovert, so I always talk to people. That's kind of why I know everyone. And I asked them if they wanted to try my 30-year-old tea. And the guy gasped and he was like, "Oh my God, no, I can't try it. It was so expensive." And I said, "Well, it's whiskey and we're here to share and we are all friends and we like the same thing. So try it if you would like." And they did, and they were completely in awe. And I spoke to them for a while and then we parted ways. And later on that evening, I actually stumbled onto them again in a bar in Dublin. And the woman asked me, "Could you recommend whiskey?" And I said, "Yeah, try Redbreast Castres."
Mm-hmm.
And she went straight to the bar, bought the whiskey, went to a table, came back and said, "You know so much about whiskey, you need to start a blog." And I was like, "No, I really don't. I just like whiskey, so I just suggested it to you." But she was so happy and so impressed with everything I had said. So I had her in the back of my mind, and now I have her as a friend on Instagram, and we talk every once in a while. And she was the first person who sparked the idea. But then later on, a guy named Kato in the Norwegian whiskey community also kind of started pushing me in the direction of starting a blog. And I talked to a friend named Andrea, and he said, "Well, let's do it. I'll help you." And together because I had a lot on my plate, so I didn't really feel like really doing the work with starting a blog. So he helped me out and he pushed me in the right direction, and Freedom and Whiskey were born.
Sorry, Russell, I just had to meet you.
No, okay, I was losing a bit of feedback. I'm not sure what's going on. Are you hearing the outside of the birds and stuff making a noise, or?
I think sometimes just with a three-way, sometimes if there's an extra camera too. But yeah, so brilliant. And the blog. Sorry, Russell, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, just in the back of what you were saying, Charlie, it's interesting when people, working in a shop, we're giving people advice all the time on what to buy and what to try. But that, you know what you like and you know what somebody should potentially try because you've got so much enthusiasm for certain whiskies that you've tried and you think, I think you'll like this. But there's always that little bit of anxiety when you suggest something because what if they don't like it? What if they think, "Oh my God, what is that you've asked me to drink?" And it never happens, but there's always that little bit of, especially if somebody buys a bottle and they leave the shop, I'm like, "Oh, please come back and say you liked it. Please don't come back and say, what on earth was that rubbish you bought? You got me to buy." So it is it's a difficult thing, and I think the lady was right to ask you to do the blog because we don't often have the confidence in ourselves to be confident with our opinion and with our knowledge, and I think sometimes it takes somebody else to tell us. You know what you're talking about. You should go and do something with that.
I have to say, in my position, I was like, because I've been in the whiskey community for a while, but I haven't really made myself known until the past year or so. But being a female and being in a wheelchair has always been in the back of my mind. Like, I'm not someone to talk. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a girl, not knowing anything about whiskey compared to everyone else. But after doing this for a year or maybe a year and a half, and getting the feedback I'm getting and speaking to people and doing the tastings and recommending whiskey and stuff like that, I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it. And suddenly I'm in a position where I really feel accomplished by something. So I feel like, not to be bragging about myself, but I feel like I've found something I'm actually good at.
Yeah, and like you say, this virtual thing has broken down that barrier for you to express your views. I've joined you in tweet tastings as well, and you know your tasting, even on our own tastings, the tasting notes that you come out with are, you know, they're you're talking about your passion and you know what you're talking about, and it's quite clear from the reaction of the other people who, yeah, I don't judge is a kind of a almost a negative, but they look at, as you say, a woman in a wheelchair and they think, oh, that's different. But when you start talking and they see your comments and what you bring to the conversation, you see a switch and they realize that you know what you're talking about. You're not an outsider at all, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. One of the reasons I really wanted to get you into one of these blethers is kind of talk, and obviously we touched base before we came on live about how open you would be to talking about this. So I'm glad that you were quite happy. And it was one question I wanted to ask about when we were out physically in festivals or whatever. What did you think was the biggest barrier to you? Was it the wheelchair, or was it the fact that you're female, or a combination? Maybe you think.
No, I actually think the wheelchair, mostly from a physical point of view, because it depends, like the venue, is it accessible? If it's a festival, it's a lot of people walking around. I'm not a very big person, so sometimes when people are in a hurry, they don't really see me, and they walk into me, or I feel like I'm in the way, like things like that. But I'm a kind of person who I don't like, and I don't focus on the wheelchair or my handicap or my situation. I like to focus on the things I can do. So being a Norwegian, the wheelchair has always been a big deal to others. While when I go to Ireland or Scotland, people don't see the wheelchair in the same way. They see the person in the chair. So that's some of the reason why I want to relocate. Because I want to be in a place where people see me and appreciate me for the individual I am.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I know that we, the people in wheelchairs in this country still do have a bit of a problem with the way that people behave towards them, and it's really heartening to hear that you've had a good experience here, actually, because I think we feel we've still got a lot of work to do to make things better and to make it as normal as anything else. I think people are still have opinions of things in this country that probably aren't very helpful. So that's really heartening to hear. Actually, that it's a better experience here. Well, I mean, how bad is it in Norway? I mean, what's been your experience there then?
It depends on what type of situation you're talking about. But I moved from Trondheim down to Drammen in 2019, and my experience is that people further north are a lot more judgmental than down south, where I am now. So my first meeting with the whiskey community and whiskey bars and festivals down south was fantastic. I went to a whiskey bar and I was there for the first time, and I had a bit of problem getting in. That was the whiskey bar in Oslo, and the owner, not the owner maybe, but the guy who's running the bar, he sent me a picture on Facebook 2 weeks later, and it turns out that he had actually bought a ramp for the entrance so that I could come visit them again without any problems. And even though I bragged a little bit about myself, I'm a very humble person, and hearing like the things you, Mike and Russell, say about me, and what I contribute to the whiskey community, it is so humbling, and it means so much to me that it just makes my year or my life, really.
I think certainly the whiskey community welcome all different kind of cultures and backgrounds. If they see you in a whiskey bar, there's that instant connection that there's that kind of one love that we all share, and it breaks down a lot of barriers as well. And I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've been in a whiskey bar and not had a connection with somebody. You have disagreements, of course, but it's always good disagreements because it's always about whiskey that you like and whiskey you don't like. What's your favourite? And they come out with a Lefroy and you're not a peaty fan. But instead of ignoring you and said, oh, well, you don't like Lefroy, I won't speak, there's always that kind of challenge. You'd lay down a gauntlet to them. I don't like Lefroy. You say, well, I'll get by the end of the night. I'll have you liking Lefroy, and it's that kind of community where you put your arm around each other and you say, well, let's have a wee look at what I'm having, which I think is great. And you know, what you're coming across there, it kind of resonates that everyone gets a chance to showcase what they like and things. And I know, having a wife in the industry, that there is, and I don't think it's an industry. I think a lot of the time it's customers as well. Is that kind of, especially being female? There's obviously the last year of women in whiskey. There was the big, we won't give it a name, but the big book issue, and it kind of raised a lot of unwanted press on whiskey. But within the industry, I think it's very positive introducing women to it. And you look at people, Becky Paskin and Rachel Barry and the like, Alwyn Gwent, these kind of really top of the games. But we need to break down barriers on the customer side. Do you have that as a female blogger? Do you have that issue or coming in that people think, and I'm talking on the virtuals or in festivals and stuff where you're people see who you are, and they ask, do you find that they listen to you straight away, or do you have to kind of convince them that you know what you're on about?
I haven't really had that challenge yet, because I started speaking up really after Corona struck. So I haven't been to any big festivals or anything like that. But I feel like the tastings I've been to, people listen to me. They don't judge me or look at me in another way. But I have been to bars before this happened where people come up to me and ask, "Are you allowed to drink?" Because I mean,
they're maybe worried about you driving home.
no, it's like I'm sitting there with the whiskey in my hand, and usually the person beside me, is she allowed to drink?
Yep.
And it's like, I'm not invisible. I'm here. You can ask me. Yes, I'm drinking. Thank you.
There's still a lot.
I was just going to say, if you do physical festivals, everyone will know you. So, through the virtual world, everyone will say, "That's Charlie." Yeah, she's excited to be here.
That's a bit funny, because I went to Oslo Whisky Festival in, I think it was October 2019. That was the last one, and I didn't get it through the front door before I think 8 people was surrounding me just to say hello to me. So nobody could get through the door because we were blocking the entrance.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Well, there still is a lot of ignorant people out there, and I think the whole sexism issue was one that was kind of raised last year, and it is still kind of still there. If I go to a bar, my wife loves peated whiskey, and if I go to a bar and order a peated whiskey and a gin and tonic, the barman will automatically pass the gin to my wife and the whiskey to me, and actually the order is the other way around. And it's just that way that they assume the gins for the woman and the peated whiskies for the man. So there are still those kind of, they should be coming back and saying, oh, guys, who's is who's. There should be no assumption of who's drinking what, and I think that's the kind of bit that still needs to be broken down a bit.
But it's the same thing with music. I don't know how many times I've heard, how can a cute innocent girl like you listen to heavy metal? Why shouldn't?
Do you not show them your arms with the tattoos and everything?
Yes, I do all over. And it's just silly. I see Jeremy is saying in the comments that I have to mention the unicorn.
I saw that. I saw this wry smile on your face when you read that. I was just about to ask about that. So come on then.
I'm in a group of whiskey connoisseurs in Norway, and we have a tasting once a month together. And lucky for me, I'm the only female, so I have like 30 guys just surrounding me. And I have this nifty ability to taste the whiskey and tell the strength of it. And as long as I'm sober, I'm really good at it. When I start to get like beyond tipsy, I'm not so good at it anymore. But the guys think it's kind of funny, so they used to tease me about it. And I told them to buy me a tiara, as I am their queen. And suddenly I got an envelope in the mail, and I opened it, and it was a unicorn horn. So now I have like a unicorn horn I can wear every time we have tasting.
Oh, you should have had it on tonight. I'd love to see that.
I'm not going to say what my mom asked me, but she saw a picture and she said, "Why are you wearing on your head?" So, yeah.
Well, the unicorns are national animals, so you're going to have to come to Scotland, Charlie.
I do. I absolutely have to. See, now Jeremy's, yeah.
Yeah, every time within 1 or 2% of the correct ABV. It's quite a talent. We also just had a wee comment from the whiskey doc, Paul McLaughlin. Good evening, Paul. Or afternoon, I think it will be where you are. Checking in between patients. So Paul McLaughlin will be our next guest in 2 weeks. We have a couple of tastings next Thursday, so 2 weeks' time. The 29th, we will be having a chat with the whiskey doc, who is the happiest dentist in the world. And he knows a thing or two about whiskey as well. So look forward to chatting to Paul. Have you met Paul before? I think he was he came into a chat with us as well, didn't he? Were you on the chat?
He came into the Octomore one, didn't he? Did he come into the Octomore one?
At the end of the Octomore, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the Octomore he came on to the end of.
I remember he promising me a nosing session. So I hope, Mike, you can hold him to that.
I certainly will, yeah. So Paul is one of our guest speakers at our Whiskey Academy, the Highland Whiskey Academy, when we get that going post-COVID. So hopefully he can come over to Scotland. If not, we might have to do it virtually, but we're very hopeful that we can get him over. It's great. I've met Paul in a couple of courses down at the Edinburgh Whiskey Academy at Springbank and over in Isla as well. So it'll be great to catch up with him. Yeah, we were talking about your ability to do the ABV. One of my favourite stories, and Mike Higgins, Speckies, is going to hate me for this. So, yeah,
please tell it.
He should be here.
He maybe is.
Maybe he is.
I've shared him the video anyway. But so I love it. He we had this blind tasting, and unfortunately, due to customs and the delay in the post, Charlie's pack didn't arrive in time. So we had kind of 5 clues per whiskey, and everyone else was tasting their drams. And Charlie was almost bang on every time, and the ABV or the bottler or anything. And Mike, who is a regular on our tastings as well, it was so far down the list, it was quite funny. And I just remember you were beating him every time. He was not too happy about it. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I should have named you out loud there, Mike, but maybe the wife doesn't know that you're on our whiskey tasting, so I'll censor it when we go back and edit.
I still tasting about it.
Absolutely, I would too. I think you've every right to. Somebody with no whiskey in front of them, somebody with all 5. But he does admit he's not a connoisseur, so we won't tease him too much. But yes, we will. Yeah, we will.
Talk about unicorns. Maybe we need to ask him about Kylie again as well. So.
Oh yes, we'll get him on for a blether. That could be fun. So you touch. You've got Teeling in your glass, and Teeling is your favourite. It's got a kind of a special place due to your visit a couple of times, and you did a blog on them as well, didn't you? You kind of had a. Was that your first blog? Was that your kind of introductory?
No, that was actually the White Peak, I think. That because I was having I bought a tasting pack from White Peak, and their new make was so impressive to me that I just had to do that one first.
What's been your favorite session or tasting or distillery or whiskey that you've written about? What's been the one that you've enjoyed writing about the most?
That I've written about, I think, must be the Karak. Actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I read and I saw some tasting notes on the whiskey before I purchased it, and I felt like it has the seaweed finish, and I felt like this is strange. This can't be good. But I purchased it and I tried it, and it's an amazing Irish whiskey. So everyone who hasn't tasted Karak should just go out and buy a bottle.
Yeah, it's sorry. I'm just having a quick look down.
Just while you're having a read of that, Mike. I mean, one of the things when at the start of the program there, we spoke about your introduction to whiskey and how that came about, and it got me kind of thinking just about the whole process. And is there a part of the process that you feel sort of more attached to? I mean, by that I mean when I'm out walking in the fields around about here, and there's when the barley's growing and the harvest is on, the combines are cropping the harvest, and the smell of barley in the air. To me, that's the magical moment of whiskey. It's it's not the distillery. Well, it is a distillery as well, but that magic bit when they're actually cropping the barley, to me, is just a really, really special time, and it's all I can think about. Is there a part of the process that really kind of grips you, Charlie?
No, not really. But it feels really strange talking about this, but some whiskeys sing to me, or they speak to me in pictures. And it's not every whiskey. Sometimes it's far between them. It can be one whiskey, and then it can go months until I get another one like that. But it's those whiskeys that put memories and pictures in my head. That's the part of it I love the most, and of course the social part.
Yeah, so more the relationship part, more the experience and the journey, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Because the journey for me, it has been really priceless. I don't know where I would have been today without having the whiskey community to go back to. Like if I'm sad, or if I'm down, or if I'm happy, or if I just need somebody to talk crap with, I always know I find someone in the whiskey community.
There's a lot of us talk crap, so yeah, that's fair enough.
It was we talked this afternoon, Charlie, about we had a whiskey tasting last week, and Charlie, it was so good she did it twice. Not both with us, but the same lineup, or very, very similar lineup. And there was one, the Altmore, which was or not your favorite, but you really enjoyed at our taste, and then you didn't enjoy it so much in the second tasting. And it just, I think we joked about the company was better than our taste, but I do think there is a serious element that if you're, whiskey very rarely tastes bad if you're in good company. And I think that it does go a long way. Yeah, I like to think that whiskey is 40% taste and 60% company or experience. And I hate to think of people, me and Russell and hundreds in the industry do it. You do it for your blogs. You sit and drink yourself at home, but a little bit more focused, and maybe one or two drams where you're writing about it and you're getting tasting notes and things like that. I would hate to think of people sitting on their own, scoofing, drinking to get drunk. It just breaks my heart that people could do that. So it's great that you can get online, and even if it's through Messenger or even if it's a video call and stuff, you know that there's people out there who will, like you say, talk crap to each other and kind of be a shoulder to cry on, and either vent or you have an epiphany and you want to tell someone about it. There's always somebody that's quite happy to sit down and pour a glass and listen to you.
And I feel like the whiskey community, and most people in the whiskey community, are really unjudgmental. The whiskey community consists of open-minded, warm, caring, fantastic people. I have people actually in Ireland helping me to look for a place to live and to find information to get to be able to move over when this is over. So every time I speak to someone who's not close to me but here in Norway, like not in the whiskey community, I always get, oh yeah, that would be nice, or yeah, I hope you can do that sometime. And then when I talk to someone in the whiskey community, it's like, what can I do to help you? So it's something completely different.
Yeah, I think they're all very open and like you say, non-judgmental. I suppose apart from when you try and chill filter their whiskey or put caramel color in it, and it's no hold bars and that.
And ice or no ice.
And no ice.
Yeah. You'll have heard of the Glendronach situation, I'm sure, Charlie. Yeah. So we're all distraught.
Yes, I completely understand. I'm a Glendronach fan myself, or I was.
You see, I put a comment on somebody's post. I can't remember if it was this morning or last night, and I think everyone is. It might come to pass that that's what's happening. I just think everyone has judged them far too soon. This liquid hasn't hit the shelves yet. We have no idea what it tastes like, or if it is indeed going to be fully chill filtered, or low ABV or higher price, whatever. We don't know. There's not been an official. I'm sitting on the fence with this one. I'm not judging it until I see it on my shelf and I've got it in my glass and I've tasted it, and then I can say.
We love Glendronach far too much to give up on it. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's Glendronach, from where we are, Charlie, we're literally a very, very short drive. I mean, 20 minutes away from the distillery. And it's well and truly embedded in our heart, Glendronach. So it's not something we're going to give up on in a heartbeat, but it's just a little bit worrying. I guess we've just got to wait and see what.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the other side of whiskey, and we spoke about the sharing the dram and being in the right company. I kind of hesitate and make sure I bring this up early enough so we can move on to something a bit less controversial. But what's your opinion on sort of investing and if the sort of flipping, if you like? What's your opinions on that kind of aspect of the?
I think that is that's I don't know. It's I'm kind of on both sides because I agree to if you bought a bottle of whiskey, you are free to do what you want because it's your bottle of whiskey. On the other hand, I'm not a fan of people using bots, for instance, to snap up limited edition releases just to put it on auction 5 minutes later. That's not okay, because to me, whiskey has always been call it a guilty pleasure or something to enjoy. It's not to have bottles on the shelf for a rainy day, or if something happens, I can sell my bottles. It's not like that. I just the other day I actually said, I have a lot of good whiskey. I'm not going to die and then let someone else enjoy my whiskey. So I'm going to drink my whiskey while I'm here. So as I said, if it's your bottle, you're free to do what you want, but don't keep buying case loads just to flip it. Let people be able to buy the whiskies for retail price and enjoy it instead.
I think that's a great answer. You know, if I die, I'm not going to let somebody else drink my whiskey. The other answer, which I have to say,
it's a lot easier to take it off your hands.
the other one I have to say is that please don't let my wife sell the whiskey for what I told her I paid for it.
It's all raffle prizes, isn't it? So we just had a wee comment from Graham, who worked in the bar industry with me in Inverurie a wee while ago. He just put a wee comment on noticing the difference in sexism to what it was kind of 10, 15 years ago to what it is now. But also, what's your thoughts on Japanese whiskey, Charlie? We've spoken a little bit Irish. We spoke Scottish whiskey. What do you think about Japanese whiskey?
I'm not in a position to answer that question because I'm not. I don't know much about Japanese whiskey. I've tasted a few, and honestly, the few I've tasted, if you had put them in a blind tasting in front of me, I would have called them Scotch, all of them. So I can't forget.
The chances are they maybe were Scotch, so you never know.
Bit nervous in there, maybe.
Yeah. So just that's just kind of coming to up to 15 minutes. About 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe left. I do want to get out about your blog. So I put a link out early on in the chat. What do you hope to achieve? Is it purely passion? What's the end game of the blog? Where do you want it to take you?
You can't get me started on this. Now, my dream, my first dream is to be able to move to Ireland. My second dream is actually to get a job in the whiskey industry. That is the one thing I really, really, really want to do. And I'm well aware that I'm in a situation where I'm not able to do anything. I can do some things, but not just about anything. So I'm not shooting to be a distillery manager or anything like that. But I would like to maybe do some work in marketing. Maybe I could be a brand ambassador or something like that. And a lot of people have told me that they started with the blog and then they were discovered that way. So I'm kind of hoping that the blog will end up being some sort of gateway into something work related in the whiskey industry.
Do you know what I think you'd be great at would be writing the tasting notes for bottles. Sure. I think that'd be right up your street.
I would even do it for free. I can get paid in whiskey.
Yeah. A good wage. I literally get paid in whiskey, Charlie, because I spend all the money in the shop.
No, but seriously, that's what I want to do. And I have also now finished WSAT level 1. I know I didn't have to do the level 1, but I did just to. I haven't been studying for a while, so I just had to check if my brain was still working, and it was because I passed with 93%.
Oh, nice.
And I was supposed to start the level 2 this week, but because of the assistance issues, I couldn't. I had to postpone it. But I am going to do level 2 very soon, just to have something, a foundation of actually knowledge, not just what I taught myself.
Yeah, Another thing I don't know if you've looked at is Whiskey Ambassador course, which is a Scottish, the first UK accredited course. I'm a tutor of it. So something like that, and you can host, and a lot of people do it virtually over the last year. So it's certainly something worth looking at, and you can teach from your own home virtually. You can teach whiskey courses, so that might be something to look at.
Please send me the link.
I certainly will. Yeah.
Thank you.
See, there's an opportunity in every conversation.
Absolutely, and I'm open to everything.
Good stuff. So does anyone who's watching, we still have a few of you on the chat. Do you have any questions for Charlie or Russell or myself? Feel free to pop it on. While we're waiting, Charlie, I do hope that your infrequent flyer tasting arrives tomorrow, so we can catch up again tomorrow night. With Alistair. Have you been on Alistair Walker tasting before?
No, I wanted to join the last one, but I wasn't able to. So, and when I saw another coming up now, I was like, I have to get in on that tasting.
Yeah. So yeah, I am. So it might be somebody who I get to say hello to before you do, for the first time, and you know.
Other tastings are available tomorrow night. I will be rubbing shoulders with the guys from Loch Lomond, which I'm looking forward to as well. So I think we've got a really good double header tomorrow night. Actually,
I know there are some people.
A couple of guys who for both. So
which one?
Yeah.
I told them I won't be offended if they want to jump in with you. And it's Michael Henry of the Loch Lomond, the Master Blender. Loch Lomond is co-hosting with Russell.
Yeah, but I'll be disappointed if Michael Henry jumps into your tasting.
Tell them they're under pressure. They have to perform because we've got another tasting coming up. So yeah, Sam, the Yorkshire Whiskey Reviews, he's going to be on the Loch Lomond. He's just popped up.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night, Sam. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
it's a great lineup, great set. And we've obviously got the infrequent flyers from the last release. When it contains, I think, your recent purchase for Rachel, also the 27-year-old.
The Bowler. That's a
22-year-old.
22, yeah, astonishing dram. Absolutely fantastic. You'll love that one, Charlie.
Cool. I'm excited about it.
So you sometimes like peat, don't you? But you have to build up to it.
You know, I've stopped saying what I like and what I don't like because I have to eat my words every time. I've been saying I don't like peated whiskey, and then I went to a Norwegian tasting and I had the Octomore 10 years old, and I had the time of my life.
Yep.
It was one of the best days I can ever remember. I had heavy metal in the speakers, and I had an Octomore 10 years. It was fantastic.
And sometimes, when you're having, like say, with good company and good crack and good music and all that, you remember the dram, but you might not particularly remember the taste when you wake up, or 10 days later when you're talking about it. You might not remember the taste, but you remember having a great time and you associate it with that whiskey. So you automatically think that was a great whiskey. And maybe that's what it was with your Octomore. The next time, you just weren't in the right frame of mind. Let's say you maybe weren't in the right mood, and you tried it. You thought, "Oh, it's good this time."
I think your taste buds change. I mean, there's a lot of whiskies that I used to drink that I just don't get anything from anymore because I think I've moved on. My palate's moved on.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with peat, and sometimes you've got to be in the mood for peat. If you're in the mood for a peated whiskey, you're really in the mood for it, and that's all you really want. But other times, just like, no, my palate's not ready for this just now. So I think it's a very much a mood thing, a palate thing. It can sometimes be a seasonal thing for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Peat is a strange thing to me because a lot of whiskies that other people say are peated are not peated to me at all. I don't pick up on the peat. So Lagavulin, for instance, isn't peated to me, while Lafroig is peated. So it's strange.
Very different style of peat, though, isn't it? I try to categorize it into smoky and peaty. In that peaty, you've got close to them.
Yeah, I think I like peaty, but not really smoky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so just Sam's looking forward to it. So glad that it got down to you, Sam, because we had to cut it fine a wee bit for that tasting. Graham's asking about Ron Welsh. So Ron Welsh has done a chat with us, Graham, about a year ago. He was one of our first guests, actually. But we'll see if he's up for coming on again and having another blether, because that was at the start of the year that was. So we'll see how it's affected. Be interesting to see how it's affected the industry and what impact it's had from that level. So yeah, that's certainly a shout. We'll see if Ron would be happy to come back on. We are in the middle of planning an event, which we hope perhaps he will come on to as a guest. But we'll talk to you about that once we've got it nailed down, a date in mind. So Charlie, you'll be one of the first to hear about that. I think I spoke to you about it before.
You know I'll be there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's interesting, the whole thing about your desire to get involved in the industry. And, from my point of view, I'm fairly new in the industry. Just, gosh, what was it, last October 19? I think I started in the shop. So not yet 2 years. And the amount of people that you meet and the amount of really influential people that you meet and have access to this year has been even more so. One of the best things for me about lockdown has been having access to so many fantastic people online.
Yeah.
But a lot of things that I've read, there's a couple of magazines that I subscribe to, and there's a lot of people in the industry that have become global brand ambassadors and what have you, that just really weren't really sure what to do and somehow ended up doing something. And as you say, it could have been blogging, it could have been working in a bar or whatever, and they just an opportunity arose. And I think that's the wonderful thing about the industry as well. There's no absolute set career path. There's just a whole load of opportunities. And I think it's sometimes just about being in the right place at the right time, and certainly being online and having your blog is definitely putting yourself in the right place. And you just need the right time and the opportunity to come along, and I've no doubt it absolutely will.
Well, a great example was last week's guest, Gordon Dallas, was a podcast and sports and journalist and comedy sketch writer. Ended up working for Glengoyne, doing their experience and tours and things. So it's a complete. And he must be, I would say he'd be aged with a year or so, kind of at the start of his second career, and loving it. So yeah, it's certainly never too late. Shall we say?
Absolutely, yeah.
You got plenty. I'm sure you won't have to wait that long. Quite as long as Russell has, Charlie. You'll be working in it a lot quicker.
Oh, I don't know about that.
If I was to shave off this grey beard, I'd look an awful lot younger because I've got no grey hair in my head. It's just the beard lets me down. I need to get rid of that.
I have grey hairs as well, so you're not alone.
I've got one or two, but I wear a hat to hide the lack of hair I've got. That's what the hat is for, and the dreadful COVID lack of haircut.
Oh yeah, there's that as well. Yeah, getting longer and longer.
Mine goes out the way.
The work part of it, of the whole. I know that I have a good head on my shoulders. So the trick for me is actually to find someone who is willing to give me a chance to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just because in Norway, as I said earlier, it's like they see the wheelchair and they see that, oh, she can't do the things we need her to do. And I'm an easy learner, and even though this online talk freaks me out, so my English really sucks, I know my English, and I like to write, and I know I can write when I'm in the mood for writing, and the whiskey passion is strong and everything. So maybe, hopefully,
we'll certainly keep an eye out for you. But I wouldn't worry about your English.
I was going to say, as a couple of Scotsmen, I think your English is better than ours, Charlie.
It is better than Scottish English.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, we'll have to teach you some Doric as well.
Absolutely.
Please do.
Yeah, well, we will. Don't worry.
just have to say thank you to Johnny. Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Yeah, totally. Because it's all about the drive and the passion, and that's what everybody says. You know, Jimmy Kuhn. We've had Jimmy Kuhn in the chats quite a lot recently, and that's so much what he talks about is the absolute passion, the heart, and the love is what's in the industry. And if you've got that passion, then you know you've got it all. I think, and it's certainly what he thinks.
I'm planning to ask the people who have the Oslo Whisky Festival when we are able to have it again, to ask if I'm able to be on a stand with someone I know, just to try to build some networking and talk to people and talk about whiskey. So hopefully that might be an opportunity I can try out whenever it disappears.
Yeah,
it's going to be soon. It's going to be soon. I feel very positive about it. There's a lovely sunset outside tonight, and yeah, no, I feel positive. We're definitely heading in the right direction.
That's good.
Yeah. How is it in Norway? Just as a kind of closer, what's the situation with you guys?
It's a roller coaster. It's lockdown, and then it's not lockdown, and then it's lockdown again, and it's not lockdown, and every bar is closed, but schools are open, and they are blaming the bars, and the bars are not the problem, and they tell people to wear masks, and people don't wear the masks, and so I've been inside in my apartment for about a year now, and being as social an extrovert as me, it's like torture being stuck inside and not seeing people and not getting the input I need to actually be happy. I know we have Zoom and we have the iPad and everything, but it's not the same. Even though I wouldn't be without it, it's really not the same.
Yeah, I think we could all. We've been very lucky that we've been able to see people through our line of work. But yeah, God knows how it's been for. We would like to think, and hopefully, if anything, we've amongst the other virtual tastings, just brought a little bit of happiness to you, and kept you going, and get that obvious candle burning that you've got there for whiskey, and just talking and expressing yourself and stuff. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you from the start of a conversation to the end of a conversation, completely sober, completely uninhibited. It's been a brilliant opening experience. So thank you very much for giving up your time and coming along and chatting to us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And you guys know how much it means to me.
I'll raise a glass to that, Chester.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good health. Slash. Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight. It's been great. It was such a relaxed, nice, informative, enjoyable evening. We won't be here next week for our Blether, but 2 weeks we will be with Paul McLaughlin, the Whiskey Doc, all the way from Canada. So hopefully we can catch up with you then. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. For those guys who are on the tastings tomorrow night, we'll see you then. Charlie, I'll definitely see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Good night.